Hello, lovely people. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for patiently waiting for a new crochet tutorial. I thought with this one I'd do a highly requested one because many of you asked me if I could do a Chihuahua. Now, I don't know how successful I was. I know there are so many different looking Chihuahuas, so you can adjust the colors to in any way you like. I hope the shape is enough Chihuahua-like. So you can just follow along using any colors you like. If you want to use one color only, that's absolutely fine as well. Feel free to just crochet along with me and just make regular single crochet stitches whenever I make a color change. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this little project. Please let me know in the comments should you have any questions along the way, and I hope you enjoy. For this project we need DK or light worsted weight yarn. I used Paintbox Yarns Cotton DK, and this shade is Soft Fudge, but of course you can use any shade you like. I mean, Chihuahuas come in so many different shades, so just use any color you like. For the lighter part I used the same brand, but this is, I believe the shade was Banana Cream, and this is all I have left, so you'll definitely need more than this. You could also use Rico Creative Amigurumi DK. This is what I would have used alternatively. So any DK light worsted weight yarn you like, and if you want to make your amigurumi in one color only, you absolutely can. I show you how to use two colors, but you can absolutely crochet along with me. If you want to use one color only, you just make regular single crochet stitches whenever I make a color change. And we need a 2.5 millimeter hook, and that's something in between a size C2 and B1. So for most of you I would say C2 is good. That equals 2.75 millimeters. But if you tend to crochet quite loosely, maybe you don't often crochet amigurumi, then a B1 may be the right option for you. So that's a slightly smaller hook size. Then we also need a yarn needle. I really like these with the bent tip. They are great for sewing on body parts, although we don't do very much of this because the legs are all crocheted on. We also need some fiber fill and black embroidery floss, or if you don't have any, you can use black yarn and create your own embroidery floss. I will show you how. Then for the embroidery part we need a large-eyed sewing needle, and we need safety eyes, but please only use safety eyes if this amigurumi is not meant to be played with. So if you think any little ones like under the age of 5 or so are going to play with it, then I recommend instead embroidering the eyes. I have a video on how to do that as well. I'll be using 5 millimeter safety eyes for this one. And then we need a stitch marker and scissors, of course. And for the embroidery part, sometimes flat pliers are really helpful to pull the needle out in case it gets stuck. This is optional. You can, I'm sure you can cope without, but if you have one of these, it might come in handy. So that's all we need, and we can get started. So I'll be starting with the lighter shade, and we begin with the legs. And for that we make a magic ring, so just use your preferred magic ring method. I'm just using this one. There's a tutorial for that on my channel in case you're not familiar with magic rings, but if you're making a project like this, I assume that you are. So we make a magic ring and we single crochet 8 in the magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this magic ring end, we want to be in front of our work now, so it's actually below the work, but from our viewpoint now it's in front of it, because we'll need it later to shape the little paws. So make sure it's in front of your work and you close the magic ring now. Oops. And that's round 1 done. Now in round 2 we crochet in the back loops only, and we also start decreasing, but first we simply single crochet in the back loop of the first stitch. So we just go in the back loop just here, so we don't go through both loops. So if you look at it this way, you can see each stitch is like a V, and we only go in the right line of the V. So in between the V, we just push our hook through, and at this point I find it always easier to just pull the loop I want to be on the hook over it with my index finger, and then we just single crochet. So that's 1 single crochet, and we also single crochet in the next back loop. Just pull that over and single crochet, and now we decrease in the back loops. So we pull the back loop of the next stitch on our hook, or just get in there, and then the second one is a slightly trickier, but we take advantage of our little hook here. So we hook in between the front and back loop of the next stitch, and now if we turn our hook 180 degrees this way, then we get the loop on our hook. So here it is, we have 3 loops now, and we pick up the yarn and pull it through the first 2 loops, the 2 back loops, one by one, because the second one again is a bit tricky and we really need to twist our hook to get it through. And then we have our 2 loops on our hook, and we pick up the yarn and pull it through these 2 remaining loops. And now we just repeat everything we did with the remaining 4 stitches. So a single crochet in the next back loop. That's 1 single crochet in the next back loop. That's 2. And now remains another decrease in the back loops. So we go through the first back loop. Now the next back loop is again a bit trickier. So this is the one here. I hope you can see. So you just go in there and turn everything 180 degrees. And this way you get the loop on your hook. And now you pick up the yarn, pull it through the back loops, back loop 1, and the second back loop is a bit tricky, so really twist your hook and take your time, pull it through. Now we have 2 loops, and we just pick up the yarn and pull it through these 2 loops. And that's round 2 done. That was the trickiest of the rounds when it comes to the legs. So now we have a stitch count of 6, and in the next round we simply single crochet in all 6 stitches. So that's what I'm doing now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now these are the forelegs, by the way. So the forelegs only have one more round to go, and this is the same as the previous round. So we just single crochet in all 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we finish with a slip stitch in the next stitch. Just pull that through. And here we can fasten off. We don't need a long yarn end here, so this should be enough. And we pull that through. Now all we do is shape this little paw here. So this is underneath the paw, what we can see here, and we just thread this tail end on our yarn needle. And now we just figure out where the back of the paw is, like the heel, so to speak. And I would say that's more or less where this tail end comes out of. And on the opposite side, we want to make 3 little stitches that kind of shape the paw. So I go through the center of the magic ring here and come out somewhere here, like this. So this is where I start shaping the paw. So this is going to be one little, like I'm dividing the little toes, so to speak. So now I go again, looking from the bottom through the center of the magic ring, and now I go through a gap that's close to the one I went through before. And here could be a good place. So I'll just stitch through that. And now we repeat this once more. So again, looking from the bottom, I go through the center of the magic ring and stitch through somewhere next to where I stitched through before. And pull really nice and tight. So I hope you can see that this creates these little segments that are the little toes. I'm not sure what they're really called for dogs. And it also flattens the paw, so it looks more like a little paw rather than just the leg as one whole. And now once more we go through the magic ring center, but this time we just stitch through somewhere to weave in the end. We just weave it in with one stitch, maybe just to make sure that it's more secured. So pull nice and tightly to flatten this little paw. And then I just stitch through maybe, somewhere to kind of imitate the pattern of the single crochet stitch so that it doesn't look too obvious. And then I just come out of the leg from the top and just remove the needle. And now we have shaped a little paw, and we have the first foreleg. and we repeat all of these steps that we've done so far to make the second foreleg. And then for the hind leg, we can repeat most of the steps, just the last round. So that's round 1, 2, 3, 4. Round 4 is a bit different. So you can even repeat round 1 to 3 of the foreleg to start the first hind leg, but round 4 is a bit different. So I'll meet you there and we do round 4 of the first hind leg together. So once you have your 2 little forelegs, you can go ahead and start with the hind legs. Now, as I mentioned, the hind legs are the same up to round 3. So you can again go back and repeat round 1 to 3 for the forelegs, and then you can get back to where we are at now. So we can crochet round 4 and 5 of the hind legs together. The hind legs have 1 round more, so they have actually 4 rounds. So start with round 4. And I often receive the question, can I make the amigurumi in one color only? Of course, you absolutely can, and actually I encourage that if you're new to color changes, or if doing such a small fiddly amigurumi is new to you anyway already, then I wouldn't make it more challenging by doing it in multiple colors. So at first do it in one color, and then you can, once you're confident enough, you can do another one in 2 colors. So step by step you're gonna get there. It's more fun if it's not too overwhelming, you know. So whenever I make a color change, you just do a regular single crochet. That's all there is to it. So I'll let you know again once it's time to do that. If you're using 2 colors, we start with 5 single crochet. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now in the 6th single crochet we change colors. If you're using 1 color, just make a single crochet, and I'll go in the next stitch and start the single crochet with the old color. So I pull the old color yarn through. Now we have our 2 loops on our hook, and now I'm taking the old color, the new color yarn, and I just pull a loop of the new color yarn through these 2 loops. So you can make a little slip knot and create a little prepared loop that might be more secure. This time I'm just pulling a loop through like this. So just pull it through, and now we have a single crochet stitch in the old color, but a loop on our hook in the new color that we can start our next round with. So in the next round, round 5, we start increasing a little bit. So first though, just do 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So here you can see now that we have one stitch in the old color, and the one next to it is in the new color, so that looks nice and neat. And then we have our 2 single crochet that we started the round with. In the 3rd stitch we make an increase, so 2 single crochet in the same stitch, 1 and 2 in the same, and we repeat all of this once more. So single crochet 1, single crochet 1, and increase 1 in the last stitch. So 2 single crochet in here in the last stitch, And that's the last round done. We have 8 stitches now. We finish by making a slip stitch in the next stitch. That was a tip someone gave me in the comments. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but it was very helpful. That helps make everything look more neat when we put all the pieces together. So we fasten off here. Again, we don't need a long yarn end, that's enough. We pull that through. We can also fasten off the lighter yarn color. Just cut that off here. And now we do the same. The same thing we did with the forelegs. So the tail end that's coming out of the paw, we just thread it on our yarn needle. Almost split the yarn there. So now we look at the paw from the bottom, and where the side where the tail end is coming out, I look at this side usually as the back of the leg or paw, so it's kind of like the heel. And so first I go through the center of the magic ring and I stitch through. Let's this time start in the front, maybe that's easier. So the opposite side, somewhere at the opposite side of where the yarn tail comes out, and you're just stitching somewhere in either in round 2 or in between round 2 and 3, depending on how long you want the paws to be. I'm stitching somewhere into round 2. Now I'm stitching back in the center of the magic ring and going through right next to where I stitched through previously, so there, but again it's somewhere stitching through a stitch in round 2. Just getting that through and pulling nice and tightly. Then I stitch through the center of the magic ring again from the bottom, and now this time I'm stitching in the other direction. So this is a stitch I made. I know it's very hard to see, I'm sorry about that, I can barely see it myself. Oh, this is the stitch I made. So now I'm stitching through here to flatten this paw. And one last time I stitch through the center of the magic ring, and I'm stitching just somewhere to the back where we have the same color stitches still. I just want to a little bit secure this yarn end. So pull nice and tight. So now we have this flattened paw. I can see the stitches I made from the bottom, but they're a bit difficult to see from the top, and it doesn't really matter, you know. The main reason I'm doing is just to create this little paw shape. So that's what we're after, so that it's a little bit flattened here. Now I just follow the stitch pattern of the single crochet stitch just to make this look less obvious. I just stitch through to the opening here and the top, and just let go, and that's our hind leg done. So now all you need to do is make a second hind leg, so you can again start in the beginning where we made the forelegs, up to round 3, and then round 4 and 5 of the hind legs. You can continue watching unless you remember how we did it, and you can pause the video here, and then once you're ready to crochet the belly, hit play. So our tiny little legs are done now. Just keep them somewhere near because we are going to attach them soon. But first we have the first round of the belly, and I'm using the lighter shade for the belly. I think most dogs in general have a lighter, if they are multicolored, I think they are lighter on the belly where they have the fluffy fur. So we start here with 4 chains. So first we make a little loop by creating a slip knot. So any slip knot method you use, I just use this one where I go over the index finger and then around the thumb, and then hold the yarn in place with my remaining fingers with the ring and pinky finger. Just go through here and grab the yarn, pull it through, and there we go. So once you have the little loop, we make 4 chains. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's our little chain. And then we start by making a single crochet in the second chain from our hook, which is this one here. So we go through there, single crochet 1. Doesn't matter if you catch 1 loop or 2, as long as you have at least 1 loop on the other side where we'll crochet in later. That's fine. So then 1 single crochet in the next chain, and now we have 1 chain left in which we will single crochet 4. So we single crochet 1, and the last one, and another one. That's 2, and now we still crochet in the same stitch but kind of from the other side. So I turn it slowly to crochet this third one and this yarn, and we can just try to keep that out of the way, and then a 4th single crochet in the same stitch. Now our work is fully turned, and that's it. Now in the other side of the chain, of the next chain, we single crochet 1, so that's kind of here. So I'm just catching this and this loop, just going through here. Oops, that's 1. So now we're back at the first stitch that we crocheted in the beginning of the round, and in there we make 3 single crochets. So we already made 1 from the other side, now we just make 3 from the other side, so that we have 4 in there all together. If you're using 2 colors, and then you can change colors in the third of the 3 single crochet. If you're using 1 color, just make 3 single crochet. So this here is the first chain from the other side, so we're going to go in there again and make 2 single crochet, 1, and 2, and now for the third one we can change color if you're using 2 colors. So we go in here again, pick up the yarn, pull it through, and now we complete the single crochet in the other color. So we just take the new color and pull it through these 2 loops. And That's the round done. Now we're ready to start the next round, in which we will already crochet the legs on. By the way, sometimes people say, oh, you're going too fast, you're going too fast. But the thing is, my videos are already so long and they take a long time to upload. So in the UK, I must say, we don't have the fastest internet speed. So in other countries, it may be much better than it is here. So I can't really make longer videos, but if it's going too fast, you can always go in the bottom of the screen. You know, there is like a little icon for settings, and there you can adjust the speed, so you can slow it down. There are different options depending on how slow you want it to be, and my voice is going to become deeper and I'm going to sound like a dragon, but that's fine as long as it's helpful for you. And you can follow along more easily. So we start with the leg and we attach it this way. So we will crochet straight into the leg, and it's important to figure out where the front is. So where we made the paw a little flat, that's the front. So this should obviously be pointing forward. And so we start attaching the leg on the inside of the leg, but slightly toward the back. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start crocheting this round in the second single crochet of the last decrease that I made in the leg. So the last stitch I made was this slip stitch, and the stitch right next to it, that's where I start. It might be slightly different for you because we all have different tension when we crochet, so it might be a little different. We only know for sure once the leg is fully attached, and then we can see how it actually looks and if it's pointing in the correct direction. So I'll just go in this stitch that I mentioned. Not the slip stitch, but the last single crochet that I made, which was part of the increase. And now if you're using two colors, you have many yarn ends here, so don't get confused. Even if you're using one color, there are already many yarn ends, but the good thing is we crochet everything on, which I prefer to sewing everything on. So now we just single crochet 8 stitches around this hind leg. This is the first one. Single crochet in here. And now the next one is the slip stitch that we finished with. So we'll just go in the slip stitch and single crochet. Afterwards you may need to pull this yarn end a bit because it will have loosened up when you crochet into it. And here it's just important to note that this stitch where we made the slip stitch in, that's already worked in because we crocheted in the slip stitch that was on top of it. So don't crochet in it again, otherwise you'll end up with too many stitches. We work in the next stitch, which is this one here, and that's number 3. And then 4, and then 5, and get all the yarn ends out of the way. 6, 7, and 8. So also I want to find this yarn in here. Yeah, just to tighten this stitch a bit. Alright, so if you made 8 stitches and all the stitches of the legs are crocheted in, then everything went correctly and you are where you are meant to be. So the next single crochet goes in here in the first, in the first stitch of the this belly that we crocheted. So we single crochet one in here, and this means that the first hind leg is attached. So now you can see, like, this is the bottom side. If you look at it from this angle, this is the side, so you can check if the leg is pointing in the correct direction. So it's pointing slightly outward, forward, but slightly outward, which I think is cute. So I think I leave it this way. But yeah, you can double check to make sure that it's nice. It's the way you want it to be. This was pointing like this. So not like this, but like this, which I think is fine. So I leave it like that. But of course you can change it. If you wanted it to point more forward, what you would have to do is go more forward. So I started with the last single crochet of the last increase that I made in the last round of the leg, but then I would move one stitch forward or however many stitches forward, depending on how far in the other direction you want the paw to point. So you can experiment with this. I often have to undo it, so I think that's normal. That's just a tricky bit. It will get easier, I promise. So now we single crochet 2 more in the belly here. 1, and with the next one, if you're using 2 colors, you can change colors again, because the forelegs I want to be more light, like the longer part of the forelegs is staying, it is like the light color that we're using. So in the next single crochet I start with the old color, pull it through, so now we have 2 loops here, and then I let go of this one, and I'm taking the lighter color again and I pull that one through. So here it's just important to note, sometimes I crochet around the other color that I'm not using currently, but I found that this can be tricky. So in order to make it a little bit more easy, I just don't do that, and I just take the yarn from wherever I used it before. So as you can see, there's a distance now between here where I last let go of this yarn color, and now I'm joining it here. So you just want to make sure that there is not too much tension on this piece of yarn that's going from here to here now, otherwise it will change the shape of your amigurumi, which you don't want. That's just all you need to keep in mind. So now we attach the first foreleg, and I think it doesn't matter which one because they don't have any color changes. And the forelegs I really want to point forward properly. So I try to do that by finding again the back of the leg, which is kind of where the end of the round is. And with this one I start further inward, so this is the inside of the leg. This is the last slip stitch we made. This is the last stitch. This is the 5th stitch of the last round. So I'll just go and start here and see how it goes. So as you can see, hopefully, there are 3 stitches. And it's the 2 last stitches of the round plus the slip stitch. And I'm in stitch 5, so to speak, stitch 5 of the last round. So here we just go again and crochet all around, 6 single crochet all around, 1, 2, and now the next one is the slip stitch again. So I crochet into the slip stitch, that's 3. Then you need to pull this yarn and probably it will have loosened up. Here be careful again, this single crochet where we made the slip stitch in, that one is worked in already, so we ignore this and go to the next stitch. There are many yarn ends in the way that we can try to pull in the other direction. This is 4, 5, and 6. So now we single crochet in the next stitch of the belly here to see how our leg looks, our foreleg. Okay, so this is now pointing slightly inward, which is too much. I want it to point really forward, so if you look at it from the side. Okay, yeah, so I've done this wrong, but I'm not editing it out because I want to show you what you can do if it doesn't look the way you want it. So I'm undoing these stitches around the foreleg. That was too much. There we go. So we were here. Last stitch that we made in the belly, and we changed color. So here I started the round to crochet around the foreleg here in the 5th stitch, and it caused the leg to point too far inward. So I'm going one step toward the left now because I want it to be twisted in this direction, more straight forward. So I'm now starting in the last stitch, stitch 6 of the last round of the leg. This is the slip stitch, this is stitch 6, starting here this time, and I see how it goes. So that's one single crochet. The next single crochet goes in the slip stitch here. We need to pull this yarn in tight. This, we made the slip stitch in, so we ignore this. Next single crochet goes in here. That's 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Now we single crochet in the next stitch of the belly here. And now it's looking better. So yeah, I think that's as forward as it can point. So you can look at it from the bottom, from the side. Yeah, that's good. It could be even, I could have twisted it even further, but I think this is good. Yeah, it's good enough. So now we single crochet in the next stitch of the belly here, and then it's already time to attach the other foreleg. So this is the, well, if you look at it from this way, it's the left side of the body. Now we're doing the right side of the body, so everything should be mirrored. So this foreleg we also want to point forward. So again, starting to attach it on the inside of the leg, but more toward the back, because that's in the end what I ended up doing. Yeah, I think I start with the slip stitch. Let's see how that goes. So this is the slip stitch here. I'm starting to crochet around the leg. In the last stitch that we made, the slip stitch here, just need to pull this yarn in tight, and then don't crochet in this single crochet under the slip stitch. That's already done because we crocheted in the slip stitch. So go in the next stitch. That's 2. Next one, 3, next one, 4, next one, 5. And now if you're using 2 colors with the 6th one, you may want to change the color, so you can crochet here the side of the belly in the darker color. So I go through the 6th stitch of the second foreleg, pull the old color yarn through, and now I just drop it and just find the darker color. And here you want to do the same, because last we used it on the other side of the foreleg. We don't want too much tension on it, so just gently pull it through these 2 loops, making sure that you don't create too much tension on it. And then we have here the next stitch of the belly. Be careful again, like this one was already crocheted in. So now we're going in this stitch, single crochet. We also need to pull the other yarn color tight. There we go. So now we can double check and see if the other foreleg is pointing forward. So this time we look at it from the other side. So they should be pointing to the right now. And it does. So that worked out nicely. So we can now single crochet in the next 2 stitches of the belly, 1 and 2. And now we attach the last leg, the second hind leg, and we do it the same way. So yeah, with the hind leg, what did I do? I went in the last single crochet of the last increase. So let's just do the same and see how that works out. So we have 8 single crochet all around the hind leg. The next one is the slip stitch. That's 2 in the next stitch, 3, trying to keep all the yarn ends out of the way, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if there's no stitch left of the hind leg, then it means everything is done correctly. Now we should have 2 stitches, those are the lighter color here, left. So we crochet in the first of those to double check that the leg is attached correctly, and like the other side, it's pointing slightly outward, look forward, outward. So that's good. We want it to be the same as the other one. If you want yours to be pointing more forward, then you can just twist the leg differently and start in a different stitch. But if you're happy with what you did, then all that's left to do is make a single crochet in the next stitch of the belly here, which is the last stitch in the lighter color. Single crochet in here, and that's the trickiest round of the whole project done. So pat yourself on the back. It gets easier from here. So I'm just putting a stitch marker in the last stitch, and I'll have some breakfast now. I hope you didn't hear my stomach rumble. I'm really hungry, and you deserve a break too. So this was the trickiest part. Well done. Make yourself a nice cup of tea or coffee, and we'll continue crocheting our little dog. So now we can continue with the next round. The hard bit is done. So we'll keep this light yarn for now because I'd still like to have more of the light color in the front. In the next round, we have to do quite a few decreases. So now our round has 38 stitches, and we'll make 8 decreases so that we'll end up with a round of 30. And we start with a decrease right away. So here in this first little stitch here, we go in the front loop, just the front loop, and then we pull our hook down and go in the front loop of the next stitch as well, so that we can crochet these 2 front loops together. There we go. So we pick up the yarn, pull it through the 2 front loops. We have 2 loops on our hook, and we pick up the yarn and pull it through the 2 loops again. So then we single crochet in the next 5 stitches, so around this hind leg again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we have a decrease again. So we go in the front loop of the next stitch, that's the last stitch of the leg here, and then pull it down, pull our hook down to insert it in the front loop of the next stitch, which is the first stitch of the belly here, and we crochet these 2 front loops together. So pick up the yarn and go through the first front loop and the second front loop. Now we have 2 loops on our hook and we complete the decrease. Then we single crochet in the next stitch, and now we have a decrease again. So now we crochet this brown stitch and this beige stitch together. So we go in the front loop of the next stitch, then pull our hook down to go in the front loop of the stitch next to it. There we go. Pick up the yarn, pull it through the 2 front loops, and pick up the yarn again and pull it through the 2 remaining loops. Now you can decide if you want to change color, and if so, where. In the next, I'll change color in the next single crochet because I like this light part to go a bit higher. I mean, Chihuahuas are also different. There were some that had a complete white belly, so maybe you want this bit to be completely white. Some had this darker stripe here, and then the lighter color started again under the neck, so completely up to you. You can completely customize it. The stitch count just needs to stay the same, but where you place the color changes is completely up to you. So we have now, let's see, we have 4 single crochet, and then the first one I change color. So this here is the first one. So I go through here, pick up the yarn, pull it through, then drop the old color, and I find the light color, and again I'm pulling it across. I'm pulling this yarn across from the other side, so I don't want there to be too much tension, so I'm pulling this yarn through, but I'm placing my middle finger on this string here. This is the one that I just pulled through because I want to make sure that it's lying nice and flat and there's not too much tension on it, so it doesn't affect the shape of our amigurumi. So that's done now. Then I make the second single crochet, the third single crochet, and the fourth single crochet. And now we have 2 decreases in a row. So again, we go in the front loop of the next stitch and the front loop of the next, and crochet the 2 together, and we do this once more through the front loop, the next front loop, and single crochet them together. Now to more or less match my color change, I make the next 2 single crochet in the color I'm working with now. That's 1 and 2, and in the third one here I change to brown again. So again, if you're using one color only, simply make 4 single crochet. So in the third single crochet I start with the cream color. Now I drop the cream color, find the brown yarn, and again I use my middle finger to put it on the yarn just to make sure it lays nice and flat, there's not too much tension, it's not too loose, so I can pull it through without affecting the shape of my amigurumi. And then we have the 4th single crochet that's going in the next stitch. Not sure why this is tricky to me. There we go. Sometimes you may want to pull the other color yarn after making a color change, just to make sure everything is nice and neat. So now I made my 4 single crochet around the foreleg, and we have a decrease again. So we go in the front loop of the next stitch, which is the beige one here, and the next stitch, which is the first brown one here in my case, and we single crochet the 2 together. Then we have 1 single crochet in the next stitch and another decrease. So we go in the front loop, and the front loop of the next stitch and decrease. Now we single crochet in the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here we have our last decrease. We should now have 4 stitches left in the round. We make our last decrease, 1 and 2 front loops on the hook, single crochet them together, and now we should have 2 stitches left in which we'll make 1 single crochet each. And there we go. So that's the round complete. Now our round has 30 stitches. Now the next round is very straightforward. We just single crochet 1 in each of the 30 stitches. So I won't be changing color. So here is where I'm making this little stripe, just to show you this little stripe here, which is 2 rounds of brown. So if you want that, then you don't need to change color. I'm telling you where to change the color if you want this whole bit white or in the lighter shade. I will show you how to do that. So you'll just change color in the same place basically. So if you're using one color anyway, or like me, you want to make this stripe, you can just go ahead and make all 30 single crochet. If you want to change color, you can do so anywhere you want, of course, but I show you where to do it if you want this to be like a smooth line, as smooth as possible. So here you can see now we have 1 brown single crochet stitch left, and once you have 1 brown stitch left, that's where you want to make the color change. So here in this single crochet I would pull the brown yarn through, and then I would grab the beige color and pull it through the 2 brown loops, and that would be the color change. But because I'm not making one, I just single crochet normally. And now you would have the next stitch in the light color, and you go on to crochet the front here in the light color. And now, when you have 1 stitch left in the light color, that's where you would make the color change again. So you would pull the yarn through the beige yarn and then find the brown yarn and pull it through the 2 loops of the beige yarn. And then you'd have a brown loop on your hook again. But like, as you can see, I'm just making everything in brown. Also, I noticed some Chihuahuas have really fluffy fur, so maybe you can experiment with different kinds of yarn. Or if you want, you could try to brush them. So once I have 2 of them, I will sacrifice one of them, one of the little Chihuahuas, for an experiment of brushing them, just to see how it goes, because I think if it works out, it would look so cute. So we'll see. round. That's single crochet number 30, so that's round 4 done. The stitch marker goes back in, and now in the next round we can start creating the neck and the back. We separate the two, so it kind of depends now where the end of the round lies for you. I mean, it will be somewhere here, but it can be slightly different for everyone, again depending on the tension we have when we crochet. So mine is quite in the middle, maybe slightly toward the left. And so what I'll be doing in the next round, I will be crocheting 11 stitches, 11 single crochet. Oh, by the way, I can now cut the beige yarn. I could have done so before. Even if you want the front part here, the whole part from the belly to the neck to be white, you can fasten off the light color now, because we won't crochet this neck area now. We will first focus fully on the back, which we can make in the darker color. So I'll be single crocheting 11. I'll show you what's next, and then you can see if you need fewer or more stitches. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So what we do next is we make 4 chains and we skip 6 stitches, and this will create a little opening for the neck. And we want the 6 stitches to be centered in the front. So that's 1, 2, 3. And here we have the middle. Let me just show you with my hook. So for me it looks like this now. 1, 2, 3. Between the 3rd and 4th stitch is the front center, and that's what we want. So 4, 5, 6. It's these 6 stitches are the front center, and that's what we want. So if your 11th stitch lands somewhere here, then only do 10. If your 11th stitch lands somewhere here, then do 12. Do one more so that you get here, because you want the next 6 stitches to be the front center. That's what's important, so you can adjust the pattern accordingly. Now, let me just double check. Right, so we chain 4 now. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we skip the 6 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the 7th stitch, which should be here somewhere, we make the next single crochet. And now, because I made 11 stitches on this side, I now have 13 stitches to do on the other side. If you made 12 stitches here, you will have 12 stitches on that side. If you made 13 stitches on this side, then you'll only have 11 stitches on this side. So you can adjust the pattern. It only affects this round really, so just do what looks good. What's important is that this opening here lands in the center front. So I have 12 more stitches to go now. We just do single crochet stitches, one in each stitch, all the way to the end of the round. and 1 single crochet in the last stitch, and that's the round complete. In the next round we focus on crocheting the back only, and at the same time we're going to start decreasing the back. Our stitch count, including these 4 chains here, is now 28, and we'll decrease it by 7 in this round, so that we'll end up with a stitch count of 21. You may be able to see I've already done this round and try to figure out something in the written pattern, like a small error, so I had to redo it, which is why the stitches look worked in already. So we start with 2 single crochet, and then we decrease. So we go in the front loops of the next 2 stitches and single crochet them together, and we repeat this 7 times altogether, so 6 more times. So 2 single crochet and a decrease, and then 2 single crochet. Oh, there we go. And if, like me, you had 11 single crochet on this side in the previous round, then you should now have 1 single crochet left here, and then the next stitch would be the first chain. So I show you how to crochet these 2 together. However, if you did have 12 single crochet on this side and 12 on the other side, if it was that equal for you, then you can just make a regular decrease here before crocheting in these 4 chains. If you had fewer stitches than me, so let's say you had 10, then you'll have to single crochet 2 chains together, and I'll show you how to do that. But first let me show you how to crochet these 2 together, in case you did everything the same way I did with the 11 single crochet on this side. So I go now in the front loop of the next stitch here, and I crochet together with the back loop of the first chain, because the thing is, we need the front loops of the chains open to crochet the neck out of later. So we only want to work in the back loops. So I have the front loop of the single crochet on my hook already, and now I go through the back loop of the first chain, and then I pick up the yarn and go through these 2 loops and pick up the yarn again and go through the remaining 2 loops. So now I crochet these 2 together. Now let's pretend that you had 10 stitches on this side, and now your next decrease falls into the 2 next chains. Let's pretend these are the 2 first chains, okay? So in this case you'd want to crochet the back loops together. So we go through the first chain. In this case I would try to only catch 1 loop, so I just use my index finger to pull it on the hook. I'm now in the back loop of the next chain, and now it's easiest to get in the back loop of the next chain to just get your hook in between front and back loop of the next chain, and then turn the hook 180 degrees, and then turn it this way again, the way you usually hold it, and now you should have the loop, the back loop on your hook. So now you can pick up the yarn and pull it through these 2 back loops. The second one is always a bit tricky, so take your time and really nicely twist the hook to get it through. and then you just finish the single crochet and you have 2 crochet together. But I'm not doing this because I've already done my decrease. This was just if you had 10 single crochet on this side of the body in the previous round. What I'm going to do is I'll just make 2 single crochet in the back loops of these chains. In this case, it doesn't matter if you catch 1 or 2 loops. 1 and 2. So these are my 2 single crochet, and now I have to crochet the last chain and the first single crochet on the other side together. So I go through the back loop of the last chain here, and now I want to go in the front loop of this first single crochet here. So I need to pull my hook down a bit to get in there. I'll just pull it on with the nail of my index finger. There we go. So now I'll just have these 3 loops on my hook, pick up the yarn, pull it through the first 2 loops, and pick up the yarn and pull it through the remaining 2 loops. And the rest is easy now. So we have again 2 single crochet and a regular invisible decrease, 2 single crochet, decrease, 2 single crochet, and decrease. And that's the round done. So I place my stitch marker in the last stitch. And now I'll actually use all of these yarn ends as filling. This way I'll have them out of the way and I'll need less fiber fill to fill the body later on. So I'll just squish it in there. And this way it's all put to good use. So let's see what's next. So now we decrease again, and let's see, we actually decrease 7 times again, so that we'll end up with 14 stitches. This time we just change it up because we started with 2 single crochet in the previous round. This time we start with a decrease. And then we single crochet in the next stitch. And we repeat this 7 times. So 6 more times, so that we'll end up with 14 stitches. So always alternating 1 decrease and 1 single crochet. And now we don't have to deal with these chains anymore. So it should be easier this time around. Just 1 decrease and 1 single crochet. Decrease and single crochet. Decrease. Single crochet, and again 1 decrease, and we finish with a single crochet in the last stitch. And that's the round done already, which means we only have 1 round to go. We now have 14 stitches, and all we do is we make 7 decreases in a row so that we end up with 7 stitches that we can then close. So let me just detangle this mess here before I continue. That's always what happens in the end, that both ends come loose. So, oh, sorry about that. So, 7 decreases in a row. That's 1. By the way, I don't worry about stuffing now because we still have this neck opening that we can fill the body through. That's 2. That's 3. Four. 5. Just got this yarn in there, so I'm just peeling that out. 2 more to go. So decrease number 6. And the last one, 7. And that's the last round then for the back. So we can fasten off here and close the round. But first, I will fasten off, leaving, well, maybe this much. We don't need a very large yarn end. I'll just pull this through, but before I close off the round, I'm going to fill the body because that will make it a bit easier, I think. So I just pull off some fiber fill, squish it together, and push it in with the back of my hook. Let's see if that's enough for now. It may actually be enough for now because we still have an opportunity to fill more even once the neck is done. So that's enough for now. What we need next is our yarn needle, and we thread the end on it. And now what we do is we go through all 7 front loops, and we don't pull too tightly just yet. Just get the yarn end through there. It's the 3rd one, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So once you inserted the yarn in all 7 front loops, then you can pull tightly. If you're using acrylic, be careful, don't pull too tightly because it might rip. That would be very annoying, so be careful I have cotton, so it's quite robust. So I'll pull quite a bit. And then we find the center of the last round and go through there. And now we stitch through somewhere. I just stitch through here. Somewhere where we have the same color yarn would be ideal. And we just stitch through there. And again, pull enough so that the back turns nice and flat. We don't want any weird bumps there, so it's looking good. Don't pull too much so you don't want a dent or something. There we go. Sorry about that. So now what we do is we want to weave in this yarn, and so I just make a few stitches and I try to follow the single crochet pattern, so I try to follow the flow of the yarn, if you know what I mean, just to make it look less obvious. Just do a few stitches. Now I'm stitching through here and maybe once more back here, and I think that's enough. So now I'll just cut this end very short, and that's it. So this is the body done. Well, we still need the neck, which we'll crochet out of this opening now. So now we crochet the neck out of this opening here, and I'll be using both colors. I start with just the darker color, and for the second round I'll join the lighter color. But you know, it depends on what you want to do. If you're making this white belly that goes all the way to the neck, then you may want to change color there. That's something you can definitely do. I can actually tell you where to change color. So in any case, you start with the brown color, and I'm starting the neck here in the corner in the other side of the last chain here. So I'll just go through the other side of the last chain on the right side here. Then I pull the brown yarn through. So now I have a loop here in the brown yarn, and I just go straight into the next chain from the other side of the chain and make a single crochet. So that's the first single crochet done. And you may want to tug a little bit so that it doesn't loosen up too much. I just keep hold of it on the other side of the body with my middle finger. Then we go in the next chain to make another single crochet, and in the next chain. So that should be somewhere here. Even if it's the side of the single crochet that you go in, it's fine. Just make sure you go somewhere in this corner. So now we have 3 single crochet. Oh, and if you want the neck, the front of the neck to be lighter, then I would change color now in the next single crochet that we'll be making in the next single crochet stitch, which is here just above this leg. So in here I would change color now if you want the white belly to extend into the leg. I'll just do this round completely in brown. So I'll make the 4th single crochet in here, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. It's 5, another single crochet, that's 6, 7, 8. Now if you made these stitches in the lighter color, I would now go and change back to brown in the next single crochet. How many did I have now? I just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in the 9th single crochet I would change color back to brown. If you're using 2 colors here, that's 9. And now we only have 1 stitch left, which goes in the same chain where we first joined the yarn. So in the same place, oops, in the same place we make single crochet number 10, and that's the round complete. Now we only have 1 more round to go for the neck, so I'll be changing color in this round. So in the first single crochet here, the first stitch, make another single crochet. By the way, sorry for adjusting, I keep adjusting the light and the settings. I'm still trying to figure out how to work here in my new place because I don't have my nice conservatory with the beautiful natural lighting anymore. But on the other hand, I can work even when it's raining because that wasn't possible there. So you win some, you lose some. But I promise I'll figure it out and improve it with each video. So that's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet. And now in the 4th single crochet I want to change color. So I start with the brown yarn, pull that through, and then I just take the beige yarn and pull a loop through these 2 brown loops and continue with beige for 4 single crochet. So I just try to hold on to all the yarn ends with my middle finger. So 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochet, just giving the yarn ends a little tug. Now I'll change brown in the next single crochet. So I just pull the beige yarn through, drop it, find the correct brown yarn end and pull it through the 2 beige loops. Give the beige end a little tug. And now we have 1 stitch left, I believe. And that's our 10 single crochet. And now I just finish with a slip stitch just to even it out, so it's a little bit easier to attach the head later on. I'll just make a slip stitch in the next stitch and fasten both colors off. Actually here we need to leave a long yarn end for sewing, so I leave that quite long, like 30 centimeters, 12 inches. And I also leave the beige yarn end quite long, maybe at least 20 centimeters, 8 inches, or even 10 inches, just to attach the head, because I'll need both colors to attach the head later on. And now I just pull this brown yarn through, and that's the neck done. We keep these long yarn ends out, and these shorter ones, if we want to secure them a bit better, we can tie them together for some extra security. And then I'm going to push them in. And with the small opening here, sometimes I use my little scissors to get stuffing in if there's not much space. So I'll just push these yarn ends in, and then I'll see if I need more fiber fill to fill the front side of the body. So maybe a tiny bit more. So I'll just form a tiny little ball of, but that's even too big. I'll divide this again. I'll just roll it into a tiny little ball and push it in. And I think that's enough, because they aren't usually very chubby, right? So I think that should be enough. So that's the body done. Well done. Now all that's left to do is the head and of course the tail. So well done for finishing the body. Now comes the extra cute part, which is the face. So now we can start with the head and soon make the cute little face, my favorite part of every amigurumi. So I'm starting with the light color, and we begin with a magic ring. So just use your preferred magic ring method. Make the ring nice and small, and then we start with 6 single crochet in the magic ring. That's 6, and then we close it. I don't close it very tightly just yet. I think it's always easier to start the second round if it's not closed too tightly. And now in round 2, I start with a single crochet in the first stitch here. So because I crochet tightly, the first one is always a bit tricky to get in for me. So we single crochet 1 in here, and in the next stitch we increase, so we make 2 single crochet in there. Then in the next stitch we single crochet 1. In the next stitch we increase, so 2 single crochet in there. then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and in the last stitch of the round we increase, and with the second single crochet of the increase I'm going to change to brown. So I make 1 single crochet in here and begin the second single crochet in the same stitch by pulling out the beige yarn. And now I just need to find the end. There it is. So now I just pull the brown yarn through these 2 beige loops and hold both yarn ends in place with my middle finger on the other side of my work. And let's see, actually I need to check what's happening next in my pattern now. So next we continue increasing, but in a different way. So in round 3 we now continue with the brown yarn. We can actually fasten the white yarn off, so no long yarn needed here, just cut it off wherever. And round 3 begins with 2 single crochet. So 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and in the next 5 stitches we make increases. So 2 single crochet in the next, 2 single crochet in the next, that's 2 increases, 2 single crochet in the next, that's 3 increases, 2 single crochet in the next, it's 4 increases, and 2 single crochet in the next stitch, that's 5 increases. So in the remaining 2 stitches here we just make 1 single crochet each, and that's round 2 done. I think I won't be using stitch markers here, but if you like you can put a stitch marker in the last stitch. Now in round 4 we single crochet in the first 5 stitches, 1 in each, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we increase in the next 4 stitches. So 2 single crochet in the next, let's increase number 1, 2 single crochet in the next, let's increase number 2, 2 single crochet in the next, let's increase number 3, 2 single crochet in the next, and that's increase number 4. So now we should have 5 single crochet left. So 5 stitches left, so we single crochet 1 in each. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's the round complete. So now we should have, let's see, what do we have? I made a mistake in the pattern before, so I need to correct it. We had 9 after round 2, then we increased by 5, so that makes 14, then we increased by 4, so now we have 18. Right, so we have a round of 18 stitches now, and in round 5 all we do is single crochet 1 in each. So 18 stitches all around. Such a cute tiny head. But they do have a tiny head, so I thought this would be enough. Now where was I? 6. And that's 18, and that's the last stitch of the round, so it's all correct. So now we can already attach the safety eyes and embroider the nose. Now what happened with the first version here, because you know what I believe is cute about them is that the eyes are so close to the nose, and this was a bit difficult because safety eyes go in between stitches, so I couldn't really get them where I wanted them to be, and that's why I ended up embroidering the nose after inserting the safety eye so that I could place it in between them. Otherwise one eye would always be closer to the nose than the other, and that didn't look good, as you can imagine. So although I never usually do this, I think I will attach the eyes first. I may not secure them, but I will attach them first. Oh, by the way, if you haven't fully closed the magic ring yet, you can give this another tug. Just be careful if you're using acrylic. So now we can first figure out where the center is. So in this first brown round, we have five increases, right? So it's the first, second, third. So the third one, this should be the center. Like this, right? So taking that into account, I placed the eyes in between the second and third round. Although I think that was the thing. Like this one is between the third and fourth round. This one is between the second and third round, because this way it just looked better. So we'll see what we do, but like I want them somewhere close to the center of the face, which will be the nose. So I'll just play around a bit. You can't really do anything wrong here. Just keep in mind that this third increase is the top. So maybe I'll place one eye in here. I'll just widen the gap with my crochet hook. Let's see if that was enough, because these 5mm safety eyes are quite chunky. So let's see if it fits through. Yes. So that one went in between round 3 and 4. Let's see if I even leave it there, because I might move it somewhere else. And then this is the center, so where can the other one go? So with this little one here, I placed the other one actually even closer, because when I try to do it symmetrically, which would be here, I think, it looked very odd. So I can already see now that this would look odd. If I place it here, maybe it would look okay. So let's see. see if I can do it more. Let's say mathematically correct this time. I tried it before with the other version and it looked odd, but that was because I had the nose embroidered first. Yeah, I mean now the first round is in the center, so it's probably more how it's supposed to be. The eyes are further apart than they are with this little one here. But I think I'll go with it because it's more symmetrical. So let's just see how it goes. So I placed the eyes in between round 3 and 4, and we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches in between roughly. So you can play around with it and see what looks best. I'm not securing them just yet because I think that will make the embroidery part more difficult. So I'll leave it this way. Even after embroidering, we can still change the eyes if we are careful with where we embroider. So let's do that first and see how it goes. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm using this, it's a 4-ply yarn, but I will split it first because for some reason I can't find my black embroidery floss. For a while I didn't have any, then I ordered some and now I can't find it. So I just pull these 4 layers apart. Please keep focusing. So now they are split into 2 layers. And now I take one of these 2 layers and split them again so that I have a single layer. So that's it. This may already be enough to do our embroidery. It's probably thinner even than embroidery floss, but that's okay. You can also, use the 2-layered one. It's this one here. I could use this one as well. But I'll just do it the same way as I did with the other one to make sure it turns out similar. So what we need now is our large-eyed sewing needle, and we thread the embroidery floss on it. And now, by the way, if you're very good with embroidery, then you may want to do this part later once the head is done. I mean, I think usually it's done when everything is closed, and that makes it easier. But because I'm still not completely sure on the placement of the eyes, I first want to see it with the nose on. So that's why I'm first doing the embroidery. So you do whatever you think is best. So I stitch now through the center here. So this is the center of the magic ring, but we use this pointy sewing needle because we don't want to stitch in between stitches. We want to really stitch through the fibers, and this way we have maximum control of where our stitch goes. So let's see if that's easy to see, otherwise I'll dial this down. That may be better. So I want to make a little triangle just to have the shape of the nose, and then we can later fill this shape. So I'm stitching from the center of the magic ring, not exactly because I want to catch some of the fibers. I'm pointing to the left eye and stitch through there. And here, I mean, this for now it's quite easy, but the more you stitch through, the more difficult it gets, and you may need the little pliers if you have them. So I'm using quite a long end here that I will use later to make the mouth. So I'm leaving this here, and we work with back stitches. So we have to go through the same spot now again. So the same way where we inserted our needle the last time, I go through the same spot, and this time I'm pointing toward the right eye. And I try to do it in the same angle that I used for the other side, and I try to make the stitch the same length. So the stitch is not even one round long, if you know what I mean. So it doesn't even go beyond the first round. It's still somewhere within the first round, but almost at the outer side of it, if you know what I mean. So let's pull this through. And now the first line should appear. And now we need to go through the same spot again that we went before. And I'm going through the same, I'm just repeating what I did the first time, so that I end up in this left upper corner that's aligned with the left eye. So I stitch through the same spot again, pull this through, and now we have the V shape for the nose. So now I want to make this upper side of the triangle just to see how it looks. And I stitch through again, again at this lower point of this V that we now have, just to complete this triangle shape. And this will get more difficult every time to stitch through the same spot. So now we have this outer shape of what looks a bit like a triangle. And now I just want to fill this. So how you fill it doesn't really matter. You can make horizontal stitches, which actually may be easier rather than stitching always through the same spot and making like slightly diagonal vertical stitches. So I'll be doing this. I'll be making the horizontal ones that may be a bit easier. Although it's already quite difficult. So I'm stitching now horizontally, slightly under this upper horizontal line there. And this one's a bit tricky, so just so that I can get this done a bit more easily on camera, I use my pliers. You can do it without, it's just a little bit tricky. So now I made another line here, but from now on I make horizontal lines to fill this little triangle. So each time I stitch through, I go a little bit below the stitch that I made previously. Pulled it through. Yeah, and we want to make sure that the nose gets filled with the stitches without any gaps if possible. So now this time I'm going again a little bit lower, pulling this through. Next time, going slightly lower again. So the nose is filling up with black. Only a few stitches to go, I would say. Maybe one more stitch might be enough for the nose, but then we still do the little mouth. So there went my little embroidery floss. It's not very sturdy. This is DIY embroidery floss, so but that's okay. So because I still left this end here to do the mouth, so this one I will just insert to the other side so that it's on the inside of my work. That just ripped here, so just stitch this end through the nose here. And just leave it there until the mouth is ready. And now the mouth. Let me make this a bit brighter again for the next part. So we'll now thread the other end that we left here on our sewing needle. And I noticed, at least when the mouth is closed, they have a really tiny cute mouth. So first I'll just go down vertically like this, make a very tiny stitch. So I go through here, and the mouth I just want to be a straight line. So I just, from right, very close under the nose, I just stitch toward the left. So as you can see, it's a very tiny stitch. Just stitch through there. And now I go through the same spot right under the nose where I started my previous stitch and make a very tiny stitch toward the other side. And I try to make it the same length as this one. Quite a tiny stitch. Just pull it through. That's one side of the mouth done. Let's see, I think the size, I think I got the length of the stitch right. Now I just go through the same spot of the mouth here, right underneath the nose where I started the mouth, and stitch all the way through to the inside. Pull this through. Yeah, not perfect, but I'm happy with that. There's a little mouth done. So now all I do is make a tie with these two embroidery floss ends. Oh, this one end is giving up. Just make a double knot, and then you can cut the ends short. And that's the little face done. So if you're now happy with the placement of the eyes and with how the nose and mouth turned out, then you can go ahead and secure the eyes. So to do that, I'll just turn everything inside out. That makes it a bit easier. Just pop these on the other side of the eyes. And the other eye. That's finally done. I hope your safety eyes are better than mine and easier to attach. So now we turn it all the right way around, and that's the little face done. So now we can continue crocheting the little head. Actually, I just noticed that I forgot something, and I squeeze it in here because you are just doing the face, and it may be better to do it now that you're embroidering the face anyway. So I wanted to make these little patterns that sometimes Chihuahuas have that look like tiny eyebrows, which is very cute. So I just remembered that I wanted to do that. So we'll just add it in now, but you can make your embroidery if you want to add one now, because I believe that's easier. Then you can tie the yarn ends together inside the head and secure it better than I can now. So I'm just using the lighter color yarn. So this makes it easier because this is nice and thick. This is DK or light worsted weight yarn, the same yarn weight I'm using to crochet the amigurumi. And now I'm just making two tiny stitches. I'm even using my yarn needle. If you want to place the embroidery more precisely, you may want to use the large-eyed sewing needle, because then you can really go in between the fibers and place it very precisely. I'll just go through in between the stitches here. Now, because I have no choice, because my amigurumi is finished, I'll stitch through somewhere on the body or through the head. But because you didn't close the head yet, you can just stitch through to the inside of the head. Then I just thread the other end. So now one stitch I made there on above the eye, and now I'm stitching outward and back to this spot where I started this stitch, because I want to make two stitches in the same place. That's one. And now I'll just add one more stitch, so I go back in the same spot, and I'll just stitch through somewhere. You can stitch through to the inside of the head. And now we gave them these little markings. So I'll just cut the ends short. It's not a very secure way of embroidering, but you can now just tie these two ends together, and then you have a nicely secured little embroidery. So now we do the last few rounds of the head. We already start decreasing this little head. So in round 6 we single crochet in the next 4 stitches. That's 4, and then we make an invisible decrease. So single crochet the next 2 front loops together, and we repeat this 2 more times. So 4 single crochet, and then decrease. And once more. That should be 4, and decrease. And that's 1 round done already. So in the next round we do 1 single crochet, one single crochet in the next, and then we decrease, and we repeat this 3 more times. So 1 single crochet, one decrease, one single crochet, one decrease, and one single crochet, and one decrease, sorry, we actually repeated 5 times because we have 15 stitches that we reduced to 10. So once more, 1 single crochet and 1 decrease, and that's the round complete. So now we have a round of 10, and we need to fill the head now. So I'll just squish these yarn ends in first. I like to use my scissors to carefully, without opening them, push in any fiber fill or yarn ends when there's such a small opening. But careful, like you could see it's sometimes going through in between the stitches. And now we need really tiny portions of fiber fill that we can just get in there one by one. And sometimes look at the face to make sure that it's not getting a weird shape or anything. So by looking at it, you can see where it needs more fiber fill. So this side is more full now than the other. So my next little batch of fiber fill will go on this side. So we definitely want the head to be nicely filled. Have a little more space up there. That seems nicely filled now. So we can go ahead now and finish the head. We have 10 stitches left, and what we'll do is we make 5 decreases in a row to close the head. So just single crochet 2 front loops together. That's 1. That's the second decrease. Three. 4 and 5. And that's it. That's our little round of 5 stitches that we will close now. So we just fasten off. We don't need a very long yarn end here. Just pull this through. Now we need our yarn needle to thread the yarn end on. And as we did with the back, we now go through all 5 front loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we pull this tight. And now we go through the center of this last round, and I want to weave the yarn end in somewhere here where we'll attach the head to the neck, where it's least visible. Just pull gently to even out the back of the head. And now we're going to weave this yarn end in with a few stitches. So I just try to follow the single crochet stitch pattern, just to make this yarn end less obvious. Let's do one more through here, and then we can cut it short. Just cut it here, and that's the little head done. Of course it still needs ears, and that's what we'll crochet next before we attach the head actually. So when I researched Chihuahuas, I found that some have giant ears and some have really giant ears. So these are really big. I think it's cute, but I also want to show you how to make them slightly smaller in case the type of Chihuahua you're wanting to make doesn't have that size ears, although they're all kind of big, and that's what makes them cute, I guess. So I'm going to show you both versions. So I'm using the darker color to make the ears, and we start with a long yarn end to that we'll use to sew the ears on. So I'm leaving this maybe the 10 inches, which is, I don't know, like 25 centimeters, I think. And I make a little loop on my hook. And now we start the ears with 3 chains. 1, 2, 3. And then we make 2 single crochet starting in the 2nd chain from the hook. That's where we make the first single crochet. And then in the last chain here, or the first one that we made, we make the 2nd single crochet. And we chain 1 and turn our work. That's round 1 done already. Now for these extra big ears, I made another round just like that. So I made a single crochet in each of these 2 stitches. So if you're going for extra large ears, that's what you can do now. I'm making these smaller just so I can show you both versions in the end. So I skip the first single crochet stitch and single crochet in this only in the 2nd here, in the 2nd stitch. If you're making the large ears, you do this in row 3. Okay, so just 1 single crochet, skip the first one, chain 1 and turn. If you're making the large ears, do the same but in row 3. And what we all do in the end, whether it's row 3 or 4 for us, we just make 1 single crochet in the remaining stitch that we have here. So now that's already the base done, but we want to crochet all around the ear to make it look nice and neat and more rounded and cute. So now, depending on how many rows you've done, I've done 3 now. Either way, in the same space, we make another single crochet, and that counts as crocheting in the side of row 3. If you made 4 rows, then you just crocheted in the side of row 4. Now we crochet in the side of each row that we made. So this is round 2. Just crochet 1 in the side here. If you have 3 rounds, then this will be side of row 4. Then you do another one for the side of row 2 in the next open space that you can see it is basically. And then what we all do in the side of row 1 here, we make another single crochet. So I have now, it looks like 4 single crochets. It is 4 single crochet. It's 2 in this top space, then 1 in the next space and 1 in the next. If you're making the large ears, you'll have 5 now at this point. Now we turn everything, and now we want to make 2 single crochet in the other side of the base chain, which is actually the first one goes in the same place where we already crocheted 1 in, but more from the bottom side, so that we kind of crochet around the corner here. And then we single crochet in the next chain from the other side, and that's the bottom part done. Now we turn everything 90 degrees again, and now we crochet up the side. So 1 single crochet for each row that you crocheted. The first one, either way, doesn't matter how large the ears are for you, they go in the side of the first row. So the same spot that we already crocheted 1 in, we crochet another 1 in, then we single crochet 1 in the side of row 2 and 1 in the side of row 3. And if you made 4 rows, then you'll also single crochet 1 in the side of row 4 now. But I'm done here, so now we just need a yarn end long enough to make a nice invisible finish. So just cut it off here, pull that through. Now we need our yarn needle, thread this yarn end on, and we want to make it look nice and neat, so we're making kind of like a let's say it's like a cheated stitch that isn't actually there, so it will look like an extra stitch, but it isn't. So here, this is the first single crochet that I made around the ear. I go through both loops of that and pull the yarn end through, and then here we have the last single crochet I made. I go through in between the front and back loop of this last single crochet that I made, go through here, and now it's kind of closed, so it looks like there is another single crochet, but there isn't. It just looks like nice and neat, and we can make it look more pointy by pulling the yarn a bit, and we can shape the ear to make it more pointy as well, and it should curl a bit, like that's what we want, so that it looks like an ear. All we need to do now is just weave in this yarn end. So this is the inside of the ear. Just pushing this outward now so that I can see where I can weave in my yarn end. So I just want to weave it in all the way down to the base of the ear, so that I can weave the rest of the yarn end in on the head. So I'll just try to make it come out somewhere here at the base. That's good, I think. And now we turn it the other way, or is it actually, it's actually this way, sorry. So this is the inside. It doesn't really matter, wherever it's naturally kind of bending like this, that this will be the inside and that will be the outside. So now we repeat all of this. So I put a timestamp on where we started the ears in the description. You can click on that or just go back to whichever minute. I'll put on the screen to crochet the second ear. So now both my ears are done. So now we just need to attach them to the head, and you may actually want to use some pins for it. As usual, I forgot mine. I just used this sewing needle. So I'll attach them here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, between round, well actually on round 6. I'll sew them onto round 6. And yeah, you can just see where you want them. I made them fairly close together, so there are only 2 stitches in between the 2 ears. So now we need our yarn needle, and we'll first take the longer end, thread it on, and let's just stitch through here once more. So now I just stitched through round 6 where the ear is going. So from the front to the back, I'm stitching now through the head on round 6. Pull that through, and then I stitch back through the ear. So from the back forward, through the ear, This needle can go now, and it looks like this now, and I don't want to cover this, you know, these stitches. I think that looks good, so I'll stitch through the ear once more through the next stitch here, because I don't want to disturb this nice pattern of stitches going around here. And then I'll just find the next stitch on round 6, more outward facing, and I'll just stitch through that, making sure to only stitch through round 6 where the ear is going, to make the stitches small and neat. And once more I stitch through the ear, and I want to attach it more firmly, so I'll stitch again through the ear, I think. And do I stitch through here? No, I think through the same space I already stitched through. And then I find the next stitch on round 6 to stitch through the head, through here. It's actually leading me to the same spot because I don't want the ear to become very broad. All I want is for the ear to be more secure. So I think that's it. Now I'll weave in this yarn end. So I'll do a few stitches through the head. Maybe I'll stitch through to the bottom of the head because that's where it will be covered by the neck anyway. Because I want to make a few stitches to make sure that the ear is nicely attached. And one last one. That's it. We'll cut this short. Now I'll also weave in this end, which will further help to secure the ear. But with this one I won't do much sewing, I'll just weave it in. And again, I don't want to mess with this nice pattern of stitches around the ears, so I'll just stitch through here. First it has to go through here. I've just woven it in a strange way, that's why it's coming out from there. So instead I'll have it go through here, so it can actually help me attach the ear a bit more firmly. That feels nice and secure, so that's what we'll do. And then I'll just weave in this yarn end as well on the bottom of the head with a few stitches. See if I can do one more, or if the yarn end is too short, I can do one more. That's it. Now we cut this one short as well. One little ear attached. So now we do the same with the other ear, just making sure that it also goes on round 6 and that it looks more or less symmetrical. So a little bit further to the left maybe. Yeah, that's where I'll sew it on. So our little head is done now. Actually, I'm happy I made this size ears this time. I think that looks even more cute. Although I like the big eared one as well. So now we just need to attach the head to the body. And then of course we still want to make the tail. So I'll start with the front, and I want to use this lighter color yarn to attach the front side of the head. So I thread this on my yarn needle, and then you want to make sure that the head is in the correct position. Again, if you have pins, you can use pins. I just pin in my sewing needle. And then I recommend just look at it from all sides and see. Make sure that you're happy with the placement. So now, oops, there it goes. Should have brought pins. But that's the right position. So now we'll just go, because this thread is coming from the body, we'll just stitch through the head now, as close as possible to the neck. So I want to catch like one stitch. Try to make the stitches nice and small. Just try to catch one stitch from the side. Pull tight. And then I stitch through this light stitch here from the inside out. And then here where the thread comes out, I make the next stitch, like a small stitch toward the side, just catching one loop there. Pull that through, and then we go through the next stitch from the inside out. And then here, catching the next little loop on the head. And always pulling tight afterwards. And then we go through the next stitch here from the inside out. Sometimes double check to make sure it's positioned in the way you want it to. Next tiny stitch through the head. Just try to make this one small because my head is tilting a little toward one side rather than being centered. So, this can go by the way. And then again, did we go through that one? Yeah, so now we go through the next stitch from the inside out. And now catching the next loop here on the head. And through the next beige stitch on the inside out. And now we're making the last beige stitch. I just go through the same kind of place where I went before with this beige yarn. Pull that tight, and then now I'll just stitch through the belly. So inside the neck opening, and stitch through the belly, because here I'm going to weave this yarn end in just to secure this part of the neck that I just sewed. Ooh. So on the belly, just make a few stitches, trying to follow the pattern, like the flow of the stitches. Like one more through the center here, and that's it. Then I'll cut this short, making sure everything's in position. You can still kind of, if it's leaning more toward one side, you can still correct it when we crochet, when we sew on the back of the head. So now I'm threading the brown yarn end and go through the next bit here. Actually, we can go like one round higher. So I'll go through the head like here. And then through the first brown stitch here, which was the slip stitch that we finished with. Pull that nice and tight. And then finding the next stitch to go through on the head. Just catching a small loop there on the head. And then going through the next stitch from the inside out. Pull that nice and tight. We're almost all the way around. Catching the next loop on the head. And the next stitch, trying to get through there from the inside out. And the next little loop. Ooh. Just go through here. Pull that nice and tight, and we have one stitch to go, if possible, from the inside out. And now I'll do one last stitch through the head, and then I stitch through somewhere where I have the brown, where I used the brown yarn, right here on the neck. Because now I'm going to weave in the brown yarn and with a few stitches. Again, trying to follow the natural single crochet stitch pattern. I'm trying to not to get the fiber fill coming out with my stitches. To the other side. And a few more here. Let's do one more. And then we can cut the yarn in short. And that's the head attached. So now all that's left to do is crochet the tail and attach it. So the tail I'm making in the darker color as well. Just leave a long enough yarn in to attach it. It won't need to be that long. Now we make a little loop. And we chain 7. And all we do for the tail is we make 6 single crochet stitches starting in the second chain from our hook. 1 in each chain. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's it already. So now we can just cut that off, pull it through. Let's first maybe use the other yarn end. So all that's left to do now is attaching the tail. So let's see where I did it with this one. Somewhere here. Yeah. So if you have a pin, you can use that just to make sure it's in the right position. And then we'll need our yarn needle again. And thread the yarn end on. And I'll just go through this round. It's like the third round counted from the back. So counted from this one. And I'll just stitch through here. And then I'll stitch through the tail again. So right here through the base of the tail. Pull that nice and tight, and then I move on to the next stitch next to it. Just stitching through one round here. Oops. There we go. Then through the other corner of the base of the tail. And once more through the next stitch of the body here, making a nice and small stitch. And then we just weave in this yarn end. So we can make a few stitches to weave it in and secure it. And cut it short. And we also need to weave in the other yarn end because that will further secure the tail. So I'll just stitch through somewhere here on the side and make a few stitches to weave the end in, as we did so many times. And one more. And cut the end short. And that's the tail attached. And this means our little Chihuahua is complete. Well done. Thank you so much for crocheting along with me. Thank you for all your patience waiting for this new project. Thank you so much for still being here. I'll share new tutorials monthly now, just so that I can continue doing it and that I won't be taking a long break anytime soon, hopefully. And yeah, let me know as always if you have any suggestions. If you found this tutorial helpful, if you found it fun, please give it a big like for me. Comment below if you like. Share your creation over on Instagram or Facebook. You can always tag me at Stella's Yarn Universe so I can give you a thumbs up. And share this tutorial with anyone who you like, who you think might enjoy it. Thank you so much for your time, and see you next time. Bye.